Welcome to the class 8 students. This is the continuation part of the chapter ecosystems. In my previous video I have discussed till the flow of energy and the unidirectional flow of energy. I hope you have understood till that portion. Today I am going to start with the topic of trophic levels. Okay, so previously I have told you that the various steps representing various organisms in a food chain at which transfer of food and energy takes place are known as trophic levels. Okay, so look at this picture in your this diagram in your book. Okay, so this is the diagram of a food pyramid where various trophic levels are shown. Okay, so it is like a pyramid and it has a broad base and a very narrow apex. Okay, now why the broad base is occupied by the producers and the narrow base is occupied by the tertiary consumers, I will discuss about those things later on. First let's go through the book. The various trophic levels are: the first one is green plants or producers that fix the solar energy constitute the first trophic level. Second, herbivores or primary consumers constitute the second trophic level, for example snails, rabbits, deer, goat, etc. Carnivores or secondary consumers that feed on herbivores constitute the third trophic level, for example snakes, frogs, small birds and small fish. And finally, the large carnivores or the top carnivores or tertiary consumers that feed on the small carnivores constitute the fourth trophic level, for example eagle, tiger and lion. Okay. Now these things you already know that which trophic level means consumed or represent which type of animals, but the point of concern here is why the green plants or the producers occupy the base of the food pyramid, that means the largest portion. Okay, so here you can see that the broad base is occupied by the producers and the apex is occupied by the tertiary consumers. This again goes back to that 10% law where energy was decreasing in each level and the last organism in the food chain would get only small amount of energy and the largest amount of energy will be produced by the green plants. Okay, so this is all about the trophic levels. In the next page you will find an example of a food chain of a grassland ecosystem, for example corn, which are the producers. Next, corn is consumed by the rat, which is a herbivore. Rat is eaten by the snake, which is a carnivore, and snake is eaten by the eagle, which is a top carnivore. Okay, so this is how the food chains are there, and here the corn is in the first trophic level, and then the eagle, which is the top carnivore, occupies the fourth trophic level. In this way the food pyramid or the trophic levels are arranged. Okay, so the next paragraph, let's go there. The various trophic levels in a food chain can also be shown by a pyramid of numbers. So here the number means how many organisms are involved in each trophic level of a food pyramid. Okay, it shows that at the first trophic level the number of organisms are larger than any other trophic level. That is why they occupy the broad base of the pyramid. However, as you move on to the move from one to the next trophic level, the number of organisms decreases, and that is why the pyramid is narrowing towards the top. As you can see, there are 12. Look at this picture, figure number 4.11, this picture. Okay, so as you can see that there are 10 to 12 plants at the lowest trophic level, which is the first trophic level. The number of herbivores at the second trophic level are 5 to 6, while the number of carnivores at the third trophic level are 3 to 4, and number of carnivores at the highest trophic level is 1. So this is how the number of organisms in each trophic level of a particular food pyramid is decreasing, because energy, the amount of transferred energy is also decreasing as the food chain is going upwards. Okay, so I think till food pyramid, food chain, trophic level, all these things are clear to you all. Next I am going to talk about the different abiotic components. So before this we were talking about the different biotic components, right? Since we talked about the biotic components, which are the producers, consumers and decomposers, and then we talked about the interaction between those biotic components. Now we are going to talk about the different abiotic components and how they affect the lifestyle of the different biotic components. Okay, so let's read. First one is the air. Okay, all living organisms on earth need air to live. Green plants use carbon dioxide from the air to make food and give out oxygen. This oxygen is used by living organisms for respiration. So this is how green plants and living organisms, they exchange these two gases for their own need. Next page. Gases in the atmosphere are cycles. So you all have heard about the nitrogen cycle, hydrogen cycle, water cycle. All these cycles are there prevailing in the atmosphere. Thus there is a balance of gases in the air. Unfortunately, human beings are disturbing this balance by their activities. Deforestation and excessive burning of fossil fuels cause an increase in carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So deforestation means cutting down trees. So for urbanization, to produce new buildings, new shopping malls and new this and that, means to make areas more urbanized. People are making all these things, and as a result what is happening, they are cutting down trees, and if trees are being cut down, they will not be able to absorb the carbon dioxide given out by the human beings, and will also not give out oxygen which the human beings need for respiration. Okay, so in that way the balance is not maintained, and that is causing an increase in the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, which is very, very harmful for the living beings or for any biotic component. Okay, the nitrogen present in the air is converted to nitrates in the soil by microorganisms. These nitrates are then used by the plants. Air helps in regulating the temperature on earth. It absorbs excess solar heat and does not let the days get too hot. It also prevents the heat of the earth to escape, thus protecting us from freezing nights. So these are the different functions or importance of air as a abiotic component in the atmosphere. Next we have is the water. Water is extremely important for all living organisms. All metabolic activities such as digestion, excretion and circulation occur with water as the medium. Green plants need water to prepare food. Water is also the main constituent of living organisms. For example, the human body consists of 60 to 70% of water by weight. Okay, now the amount of water and rainfall in a region affects the kind of plants and animals found there. So obviously if a place does not receive rainfall enough, for like for example desert, which receives 0 to minimum amount of rainfall, there the animals or the plants are of different kind, and they are known as xerophytic plants or animals, and they are adapted in such a way that they can live through this situation of drought. Okay, so obviously the amount of water and rainfall in a region affects the kind of plants and animals found there. They have given the example of desert regions only, where there is a scarcity of water and have less vegetation, whereas the Western Ghats and Assam that receive heavy rainfall have dense evergreen forests. Water in rivers, lakes, ponds and oceans is also home to many living organisms. Okay, so obviously places receiving excessively high amount of rainfall, the vegetation will be evergreen there, and not only evergreen, they will have dense vegetation. The vegetation will be very rich there. Okay, so this is how water and rainfall affect the different biotic components.